Hey everyone, this is Dr. Rizzo. I'm here with my boy Josh Vietti. I'm very excited about this episode. Hello.
What's up, everyone?
First and foremost, look at this Covenant Coffee. Let's do a shout out to them.
They are good. You know what? They serve coffee at the Subaru dealer.
Oh, is that
and
right?
That's where I get my car serviced. I'm going to also give a shout out to Sangera Subaru because I don't know why, because they serve Covenant coffee and it's really good. And it's nice to sit there and drink that coffee. And it's nice to know that you are supporting a business that is also doing a lot of good for the community. You know,
That's hard work too, man. That's hard work working with foster kids and trying to build a business at the same time.
Yeah.
I got to give kudos and credits to them. First of all, I think I'm leaning over too much. I'm going to lean back a little bit, get a little comfortable.
Just don't worry about it.
You know what? I just don't want to see my stomach.
You know what? It at some point I've realized that I've already lost that battle for now. And but that's a future battle to fight, you know? Gives you something to look forward to.
I like that. Speaking of that, this is what we're going to go into today, where we're going to cover. The section is called Overcoming Adversity. And if anybody in this room that knows how to do that is my boy Josh Vietti. First of all, we've known each other for how
long? All your life, probably.
All my life. So yeah, at least 37 years.
You are.
At least 37 years. And your first memory of me is what?
My first memory of you is, man, I feel like you were just about your son's age, and I knew you and your cousin as shin kickers because you would walk up to us and just with a mean looking face, you'd kick us in the shins. And I loved it. I thought, man, these kids have heart.
I love that you loved it. You guys used to try to dodge the kicks. It'd be like you, Daryl, and you guys would try to dodge the kicks.
It was fun.
And Mark, I think Mark way back, I don't know. I'm making up names, but that's like the first memory.
It's a bunch of references no one knows about.
That's the first memory that I have.
Yeah, of
you too. So we go so far back, at least 37 years.
We're both PKs, and you either know what that means or you don't. But it means pastor's kid. And so one of the things that I taught Jonathan at a young age, it was really important. We took a church trip down into Mexico, and I taught him how to smuggle fireworks across the border on a church trip. We were sitting in the back of the van, and there was a little slit in the
back of the seat.
In the back of the seat, and it wasn't like for smuggling. It was just that's how old the van was. And so I said, look, just shove the fireworks in here and act normal. So really what the border agent probably saw was two little kids sweating in the back and wondering why.
I was in third grade, by the way, with M1000s.
Pretty terrible.
These are like M80s, M1000s.
Can you still get arrested for that? I know this is like 20, 30 years ago.
No,
I think there's a statute of limitations.
I
think we're good.
Well, I don't think you get arrested for anything anymore. I think we can commit actual crimes and not really get arrested anymore.
Anyway,
no, I don't want to go there. That's funny though. But yeah, we go way back. And not only do we have those fun memories, but Josh was also my youth pastor.
I was, yeah. There wasn't a lot of people for the job. I mean, at the end of the day, Mike Harvey, who may be in the distance here, he knows how I got the job. I got the job because no one else wanted it. That's what happened. And so I was there doing it, and Mike was helping me, as a youth leader.
I remember that.
They were good times, you know.
That was a hard gig though.
It was hard
had like
because
100 kids.
Not I'm not going to say they were bad kids, but they would challenge the pretty much any authority. This group of kids that you hung around with,
that was me and my friends,
which was mainly you and your friends. And a good example of these guys. Well, I don't know if I can share that example. There's a few examples that I probably shouldn't share because of the times. You know what I mean? Like the current times. Mike is like, don't do it. Okay, I'll share. I will share a story of youth ministry when I was barely out of high school. So I was there, and I think I was there technically as a counselor, but I was really like my friends were the campers. And so we get there, and day one, I walk into the little cabin that we had. And all of these guys who are my friends, they had a poker table set up and they're playing poker and they have really nice furniture in this cabin. It's like a camp. It's a camp. And so I find out that they actually just robbed the camp director of all of his furniture. And then they ended up setting up a whole poker setup in this. It was terrible. It was
that's the church that
this is the hood we came out of.
We go to there.
Yeah.
We're dedicated.
Yeah.
That's where our hearts are at. But that's kind of a good synopsis of who we are too. So Josh was my youth pastor from high school, and then even my boss right out of high school as like an intern pastor. So you were my first mentor from freshman year, and I'm
sorry, man.
No, I don't accept the apology just because we had fun. But you were my first mentor. Through all of my high school experiences, the good, the bad, right? The breakups, the losing the football games.
Yep, you're my little brown brother.
The big drama of everything, even my divorce, you were right there.
I know, man.
Ride or die.
I was right there.
You helped me rob.
We are like brothers, and when you grow up in this culture of and specifically not just in church, but your parents are in ministry, you understand what it's like when your parents are busy, very busy, and not to put them down because they were doing the best they could, but as parents they were always out and about, helping somebody with some sort of tragedy or helping somebody with some sort of huge life event that they had to overcome. And so they're out there doing that. And sometimes, we were left to ourselves to kind of figure things out. And growing up in that environment, although challenging, you do learn to appreciate the friends. You do learn to appreciate the brotherhood and the people that are around you. And you learn to grow up together. And it may have taken 40 years for me to get there, but it growing up is kind of a lifelong process.
And growing up in the church, it's a privilege. It really is. It's a blessing. It's things that most kids don't have that opportunity. But at the same time, there's also challenges that people don't face if they didn't grow up in the church.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that you and I really had to take on in different ways. And our parents weren't dealing with little stuff. Like, they were dealing with suicide. They were dealing with death. They were dealing with abuse. They were dealing with things that they needed to involve themselves in. And I think one of something that I really liked is that you and I were able to gravitate towards each other.
Yep.
During that prime period, at least during a period where I needed someone.
Yeah.
Right. Being a teenager, especially for me, I didn't click in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't learn in high school. Like, I was ostracized in every environment by the adults. And then you were like the first adult that like just understood me.
It's funny.
Did you know that?
No, I guess I didn't. I guess, but I knew we had a connection. I think like looking back, the people that I surrounded myself with all had kind of one thing in common. Tom's in the background here, and I'm laughing because he saw this. He had a front row seat to all this. But I kind of gravitated toward troublemakers a little bit, and it wasn't that they were bad dudes or bad guys. It's just I appreciated people that didn't just go along with whatever, didn't just go along with whatever was easy or whatever social construct would help them. What would help them socially, and whatever climb like a social ladder.
And whatever the majority of the people were doing, these people weren't doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate people that think for themselves. I appreciate people that will stand up for what they believe is right, even if it's not right. If they're growing as individuals, like I watched you, Johnny, stand up for things that I would probably not consider things worth standing up for, but yet the fact that you were standing up for them at the time and you thought it was right, I would appreciate that. And I would encourage you to stand up for those things, because as you get older and as you mature, you start to understand what's actually right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But it's really, it makes it really difficult when people that you look up to in your life, when they put you down for standing up for yourself, even if, because dude, it's so much easier, I think, when you are a leader, so to speak, to put people down and to not give them room to grow.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to give people room to grow.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, why aren't you saying anything? Those guys are doing something that's not right or whatever. I would say, well, they believe it's the right thing to do right now. And I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna let it kind of happen, because at least they are learning the skills of standing up for themselves. Now there's boundaries and within that we learn as we grow, right?
You have to learn through trial and error too.
Yeah.
It's that trial and error process.
Well, you want to talk about what's the actual topic? It's overcoming adversity. So when you said that, I am automatically thought of maturity.
Yeah.
Because there's different levels in our lives where we have to overcome something in order to mature.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In order to change our character, to change who we are.
We almost have to go through pain.
Yeah, we do.
We almost have to go through pain in order to reach that maturity, in order to reach those skills that require you to survive.
Right.
And
that's what I'm talking about. Like when I see somebody who is young and maybe they're making a mistake, maybe they're doing something that I know is going to lead to a difficult moment in their life, or it's going to make things harder on them. Sometimes you got to let it play out.
Yes.
You got to let it play out.
Yes.
And a lot of parents make this mistake, I think, with their teenage kids, and I'm not a parent of a teenager yet, but I've seen a lot of this where they get way too involved.
Yeah.
And they don't let the kids make mistakes to a certain point. I mean, there's a point where you have to get involved. I understand. But if you let them have a little bit of leeway to make their own mistakes and to feel their own pain, then they're going to learn from that much more than they're going to learn from you bringing out the big stick.
100%, man. And I think that feeds onto the line where, Josh and I, we took a weekend trip together this weekend. And part of this retreat, we went to this area. It's called, what was it?
Refuge? Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Refuge. But this is what it was, is filled with hot spas, but then really cold water.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of this process is to expose yourself to heat, open up your pores, get your blood flow going, and then to immediately stay in this sauna for like 10 minutes.
We went from 180 degree sauna.
Yes.
To a 50-degree pool.
Oh,
and it was shocking.
Talk about pain, right? Talk about pain. We can only be in it for a certain amount of time,
mm-hmm.
but through that process of pain, of putting yourself through purposeful pain, burning sensation pain. I'm not talking about trauma, but burning sensation pain. You receive growth through that process.
I hadn't felt that relaxed in a long time after going through those two extremes. It's like your body's like, okay, now I know what that's like.
Yes.
And now I appreciate normal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I appreciate normal. I appreciate just normal functioning,
And I think that's the cycle that, we all have. We all go through this pain. We all go through this heat process where we get heated up. We're in the mix. We're in the stressful situation, mm-hmm. and we got to figure out how to deal with it.
So I was watching a movie. Oh my gosh, it was on. It's a documentary on HBO. I want to say Sanjay Gupta did it, and it was about the deaths of despair, which means there are people that die of disease, there are people that die of accidents, and then there are people that basically kill themselves slowly because of their psychological pain. So what they do is they'll drink too much, they'll do drugs, they will commit suicide. They do it to themselves, right? And there are different ways of doing that. Even overeating can be a part of that. And in that movie, they interviewed a doctor, and the doctor said, where we went wrong? He said, we went wrong when and I think I might have even said this before in this show. I apologize if I did, but this doctor said we went wrong when we decided as a society that you have to mask every pain.
Yeah.
That it's not okay to be in pain.
Yeah.
And he talked about that specifically in reference to opioids, the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
And so he's like, at some point we realized that any little back pain or knee pain or whatever, like here for a while we were saying
yourself.
take these opioids, take these drugs, because we felt like it was just not okay to be in pain.
Yeah.
But the truth is, life is there's pain in life. I was telling you about my back, how it hurts pretty much all the time, and I can't take things for that all the time. I have to learn to live with it, and I'm okay. It's fine. I can exercise. I can do what I need to do, but that having that pain and learning how to get through it helps me with other things.
And I think that's where I want to lead into for us. We've been through pain. Both you and I have been through levels of pain, and we've been with each other through that process.
Mm-hmm.
My boy Josh went through some cycle of pain. What was about 5 years ago?
Yeah, thankfully we haven't been going through those at the same time.
We've always mismatched. Thank God.
It's been good, yeah.
We've never been in at the same time. And Josh recently went through one where it was a lot of psychological pain.
Yeah,
a lot.
It was.
I would say.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I mean, it's hard to explain, but you get to a point where things can be fine externally, but you feel stuck or you feel caged internally. And there are diagnoses that come with that, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about just how we can easily feel uncomfortable. I think that resonates with most people. Is you can get to a place where you feel uncomfortable, where you are irritable, where your moods are just not where they should be. And yes, there's chemical things going on, but there's also spiritual things going on. There's physical things going on. There's a mentality issue that affects you. When you start to believe that you're stuck,
that's a terrible feeling.
It is easy for you to go down a path of just frustration and kind of giving up. And that's kind of where I was going,
And that's where, feeling stuck. When I see people stuck, that's where it's almost, there's a sense of hopelessness because you don't know how to get unstuck.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, I think what I think would be hard for you, as a leader, you were the pastor at the time.
Yeah.
Teaching people
right
about that. It's kind of like me. I was the psychologist teaching people how to not be depressed, but then I was depressed myself. Like, dude, that is the nastiest process.
I've gone through 2 periods in my life where I was having a really hard time mentally. And the first time I had to move, like literally move to a different city to get better.
Yeah.
It was a change in environment. And then there were some choices that I made and then I kind of got back into that funk the second time and it was harder. And I stopped speaking. I stopped talking at church because I felt like that was the right thing to do. I don't think it's okay to stay up on the pulpit when you're having issues mentally. And people don't understand this. There's, I hear pastors and people talk about how psychology is not a thing. And look, what I've learned is that mental health is real and it's very important to work on your health mentally, just like it is to work on your physical health. And we're not always the best at it, but it's important to do that. And it's more important to understand what to do. There's no, if you're having mental health issues, there's no ER for mental health, right? Like you can call a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, but there's no place you can just go. If you're about to commit suicide, you can call a hotline.
There's hospitalizations, but that's not what helps people.
It's not what you want to do. Let's put it that way. And so you have to learn to understand what is happening with yourself by first being honest with yourself. I think many of us go through mental health issues and we aren't honest with ourselves about what it is. And we bury it. And we suppress the way we feel. And when you suppress the way you feel, I've learned that it's like a beach ball and holding it underwater. You can hold it underwater for, so long and go further and further and further. Eventually it's going to rise to the top. and it's going to explode. And that's how I've always been. My wife learned that I had some undealt anger inside me. I had some undealt frustration. She didn't even realize it because I internalized it so well.
Yeah.
I wasn't always mad, but when I did get mad, I was mad, you know. And I was just, part of my life lacked this control, and I thought that I could just beat it by pure will.
Yeah.
And prayer, of course, like, and so people say, you know, can I pray this through? Yeah, you can. But the problem with when you have these mental health issues, you don't want to pray.
Yeah.
You don't feel like praying. You don't have the ability to just sit there long enough to actually do what you need to do.
You don't feel like the prayer is working either.
Right. So the best place you can be as a human being is a place, and this is my belief, and I really believe this, is to be in connection with God.
Yeah.
And to connect with others, and to have this, you know, really good outlook on life.
Yeah.
Reality is we live in this world where you have to drive to work and somebody's going to cut you off and flip you off. Right. And so it immediately takes you out of that mindset. And so you have to work hard to be in that mindset. And you have to know when you need to be on your knees and pray. You have to know when you need to stop and breathe. You have to know when you need to, change your mindset or change your environment. Now, if I get stressed out, I might go for a walk or something, or I might drink a cold glass of water. I know it's right. It's silly, but
huge.
Changing, your senses,
hydration,
is important. So there's all these like little tricks that I have now, but the biggest thing that I've learned over anything else is to be honest with myself and to understand when I am feeling, when it's just not right, when I'm not feeling right. To understand that, and then understand I need to do something about it.
And that's hard. That's the opposite of what you're talking about with regard to that doctor and people taking opiates and trying to numb themselves. Mm-hmm. It's the opposite. It's, I need to feel this.
Yeah.
I need to understand it. And it's going in depth with this self-awareness.
And understanding that feeling uncomfortable emotionally is okay. Understanding that you're going to get through it.
You know, I had to come to a point where I had to figure, like, I'm going to feel this way once a week.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. But for you, sorry, I want to pivot to you, refocus with you. You know, Josh was at a point where depression was probably at its highest.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary for us as friends. It was scary for
I've been diagnosed, just so you guys know, and I'll tell you, I don't mind. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. Okay. I've been diagnosed with severe depression. I've been diagnosed with anxiety disorders. I think that I would have been diagnosed with more if I would have saw more doctors, but those are the main three. And that mix can be very detrimental if it goes unchecked.
Along with being in a tough job.
Yeah, it is. It's hard for me. It was hard for me to learn how to balance family life with ministry life. But now I know how to do it. Yeah. And it comes down to me saying no a lot.
And I think that is big respect, because if you look at a lot of our ancients, you know, I'm reading Samuel. Those guys didn't do that. And guess how their kids ended up, right?
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, in some ways, you know, so like and I don't think you and I have ever even talked about this. I feel like we haven't, but I do think that if we were to follow the religious prescription, the biblical prescription, I should say, not religious, but it is religious, but the biblical prescription of what we would say today is just prayer, worship,
reading the Bible,
going to a body of believers, going to a church, back then it would have been synagogue or whatever, but now it's church, you know, going and actually, you know, talking. Tom, I see Tom here and Mike, and, you know, you guys, we've all been in Bible studies together and talking. That is therapy. That is therapeutic. And that is something that we all need to do, at least most of us. And maybe there's some special people that don't need to do that. But for me, I need to do that.
Me too.
And so if you were to follow those things and be disciplined about that, then you will never need to go to a therapist in your whole entire life, more than likely.
100.
Unless you have some undealt trauma that you have to deal with, that's different. But, you know, in normal life, if you 100. Do the right things, My problem was I didn't even realize that there was a problem.
Yeah.
And so when I needed to do those things, I would do something else that I thought was okay or good or different, but it wasn't exactly the thing I needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think because why is in order to get better, I seen you go from, one end of the spectrum to the other within a few years.
Right.
And I think in order for you to actually get there, you have to learn and you have to add actual skills.
Yeah. Right.
You have to,
work.
you know what I mean? It takes,
Turns out,
and it takes at the end of the day, it takes repetition.
Right.
Right. And if you follow that, and if you follow the meat, right. And I think the meat is where most people, if they just eat the meat, you're going to be fed, which is doing the typical things like you're talking about with church.
Right.
Right. Following that prescription. And then I would say one thing that what I saw you do is I saw you add some skills to yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say is the skills that added the most value to your life? That would have helped with depression.
I always start with this, and people look at me funny, but I normally have a golf ball. You will see me a lot of times holding a golf ball.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And people are like, why are you holding this golf ball? You just like to play with something. Yeah. Well, it helps me to realize that life is right here, right now.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds silly, but one of the first things I learned through therapy at this place that I went to, which is a Christian place, an amazing place. If anybody ever needs to know about this place, reach out to me on Facebook and I'll tell you about it. Just Josh Vietti. I don't even know what my Facebook thing is. Just Josh Vietti. You'll see. If you look for this face, all right, and then you'll find me. Okay. So this place I went to, one of the first things they taught me was that mind wandering is directly connected to unhappiness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am somebody who I like to think about the future, but then I easily get caught up in stressing about the future. Right. I like to think about history in the past, but then I will get stressed out about the history in the past, especially my own history. I'll be like, man, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have done that. And so instead, use your energy, use your focus to be right here, right now.
Presence.
And don't worry about anything else. Plan, yes, take your time to plan, schedule that in, but then don't sit and ruminate and worry about whether something's going to work out or not. And honestly, as simple as that is,
game changer.
and most of these things, John, are very simple. As simple as that is, that right there just took about 150 pounds off my back.
Yeah. Well, it's a hard skill that most people never, ever try to learn, which is just being present right here.
Just be here.
Where you are.
Yeah. Enjoy the present.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The present.
Enjoy the air.
Enjoy just being with your friends or with your kids. Like I realized, so I went away for 30 days to this place in Washington. It's called a Place of Hope. In case you guys are wondering, I'll just tell you right now. It's called a place, it's called The Center, a Place for Hope, and it's in Edmonds, Washington. Awesome place. So I was there for a month, and thinking when I first got there, I'm an adult father and a pastor. I shouldn't be here. But by the end of it, I was so thankful that I did this, because I learned the things that I'm going to need for the rest of my life. But one of the things that you do when you leave that program, and it was a place where it wasn't, you were free to walk around town. You got to stay in this apartment and kind of walk around, and you would show up and you would do therapy or like group therapy. You'd meet with like a nutritionist. You'd meet with all these different people for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. Right. And so after 30 days of that, at the end, I had missed 4th of July with my family. Right. And my wife sent me a picture of my then 2-year-old, and she was looking at the fireworks, and she had her hands up in the air, and it's from the back. And I will always keep this photo, and I'll always remember this photo. And at the very end of the program, they have you stand up and kind of give like a convocation speech. You're leaving, and you're going to tell everybody that's new what to expect, and to say goodbye to everyone. And during that speech, I put that picture up on the wall, and I said, you know what? While I was here, I missed that moment. I missed that moment while I was here. But before I was here, I was missing so many more moments. I was missing out on all these moments because I wasn't present with my family. I wasn't there with my family. And that was just such a real moment for me to admit that and to understand that, and to come in not understanding that, to leave understanding that I was missing moments because I wasn't choosing to be radically present, because I wasn't choosing to enjoy the moments that are in front of me.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Dude, I love having you on. Appreciate you sharing the wisdom, my man. I can't wait to have you back.
All right, brother.
Thank you, everyone.